Well, hello there.
Hey, beat up.
What's up? How are you?
Dude, it feels like it's been an eternity since I last seen your face, man.
It has been.
Way too long.
I know.
Been podcast,
It's yeah, exactly. How have you been?
dude. Been grinding. It's been too much, man. Too much. Today when we're
Mm-hmm.
recording this, I think we'll be dropping the same day today.
It
But
should
the
be up.
day that we're recording this, everyone knows I go to the University of Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
JD and Erica Kirk are here.
Start of their honeymoon. All right. Well,
Bang, bang, bang.
for all
Hopefully
of
they're not
you,
sitting on a couch.
politics enjoyers out there, there's your limited political insight. But
I thought I'd just bring it in.
yeah, there
Pretty
you
funny
go.
thing to
But
say.
we're not here to bore you. We're not here to make you want to kill yourself. This is not a podcast about politics. This is a podcast about sports.
Thank
So,
God.
without further ado, Brooks, let's jump right into it.
Welcome to the greatest podcast on earth. Nothing agreed. We have a great show for you tonight, so stay tuned and buckle up.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome back to the episode of Nothing Agreed. Back with the boys. Today, Baron, today. Baron, we're in drought season right now, but first, how are you doing, BW? You asked me, but how are you doing?
I'm
The
good.
main man on the show. The
Let me.
main man.
Well, I want to say that we're equals, if
would.
anything. But I'm good. Busy. Life's busy at the moment. That time of year we keep talking about. Not a lot going on for us in terms of content.
Yeah.
This is the year, if we have any long-term listeners with us still, that most people would know this is usually when we're all about our NBA episodes. We're talking ball, and we're talking a little bit about baseball, some stuff in the college world. But we've made the transition. We are mostly football these days, and unfortunately, this is the dry season for us.
Yeah, this
Talk a
is
little
this is kind of the pros and cons of it.
Yeah, so we'll talk a little basketball here at the end to give you guys a little sweet treat after you've eaten your dinner. But yeah, we've got some football to talk about. So we'll probably diverge a little away from the sort of format we've been going for, and we're just gonna have a little conversation about what's been going on. So
Because it's dry season. Might as
yeah.
well just get as much liquidity as possible with money and with liquids, of course, trying to bring that stuff back. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just get the value in there.
Yeah, so I think and then you can chime in if you want, but I think we'll just have a little chit chat, not too long, and just see where we're at in this point of the dry or the off season. So,
I know.
um,
Jeez.
yeah, the main thing though, for all of you people that are big football fans, obviously, but we got the draft coming up, right?
Oh,
This is where pro meets college football, worlds collide. This is the talk of the offseason after free agency, obviously, is who's going to go where, rising, falling. Are teams going to trade up? Are they going to trade down? Or are they going to sit where they are and hope for the best? Brooks, you are probably a lot more invested in the draft and sort of as a overall standpoint. Obviously, I care about the draft mainly in terms of who my team is going to take and who they should take. But you would definitely probably have a better overview. Have you made a mock draft yet?
I am actually in the process of making one.
Mm.
I'm the first process of making a round one mock.
Okay.
I'm not gonna do like a round two, round three, round four mock, but I will be. My weeks have been busy. I've been kind of
Fair
trickling
enough.
here
Fair
and
enough.
there. But how about next episode? I will have that finished. Next episode, I'll have my mock finished and we can go through it.
Yeah, dude,
But
no pressure at all. I was just curious to see if there's anything interesting that you could bring up or any
yes,
draft
there is.
topics you want to
And
talk
hold
about
on,
just based on your
okay.
research.
You know what's funny? You know
Mm-hmm.
what's funny is I had something in my
Mm-hmm.
mock, and I'll say it, but it has now been used in a new mock. A new mock came out
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and this has been my mock for about 6 days now,
All right.
because it's been a little bit of a process. It has now. everyone knows. I would be surprised if someone has something different if they're actually being serious about their mock. But everyone knows that Fernando Mendoza will be going number 1, right?
Yes.
Fernando Mendoza, number 1. That's clear and cut. Next 2 and 3 will probably be Arvell Reese and David Bailey. Both kind of edge rushers. Arvell being more kind of a linebacker, David Bailey being a pure. After that, there's a little bit of openness, right?
Yeah.
Where my openness came in was number 6. Baron, do you know who owns the number 6 pick in this year's draft? Top of your head? Probably not. But let's see if you can nail it. That is the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Cleveland Browns need 2 positions, I would say, pretty much desperately. And those 2 positions are wide receiver
Yes.
and offensive line. Those are the 2 positions they need, right? You look at last year's campaign with Shador. He made a good amount of plays, but Shador, remember, he had more interceptions and touchdowns. But let's be honest, if you're watching the Browns games, he does not have much help outside, and he does not have much help on the interior offensive line, and sometimes even the tackles. I mean, it was a shit show,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least, on the Cleveland Browns offensive line. Sorry for the language, but still.
You're good.
You look at the wide receivers, look at the offensive tackles, offensive linemen in this draft. They're not top 5 material. None of them are. So I proposed a mock trade where I had the Kansas City Chiefs jumping 3 spots to go up to 6 and to go get some help on the defensive line and get Reuben Bain Jr. because they need some help on the D-line. And I had the Cleveland Browns falling to 9, where I had them at my point. I had them taking either Carnell Tate, wide receiver, or taking an offensive lineman. NFL literally came out of the mock draft yesterday where that exact scenario played out, where they had a trade up with Kansas City Chiefs taking Reuben Bain, and they had taken Carnell Tate, wide receiver. And I was like, I thought I was being like kind of sneaky with it, but like I was like, damn, okay. So that was something I cooked in my mock, was that the Browns are in a position where the 2 positions they need are not where they can have them, and they have teams that are willing to buy up for a guy like a Reuben Bain Jr., which I'm guessing you heard about what happened with Reuben Bain Jr. recently.
His
which even with that, with the car accident that
I
happened.
actually didn't hear about that.
Oh, whoa! Okay.
I thought you were talking about the short arms. Nice stubby.
The car accident. There was a car accident in 2024, which he left someone in a coma, and then they died 3 months later.
Oh. You said he went to Miami?
Yeah. Should have been a Georgia player.
Yeah.
But it was kept mostly under wraps. But yeah, no, it was that happened, and GMs were like, we already knew about this. So it clearly is not really affecting his stock, but he is a top 5 talent, I would say, in this draft, and it's very deep of edge rushers. So a team can go get an edge rusher, right? And so that was one that can get an edge rusher. But yeah, shorter arms always happen, and that is literally a concern with Reuben Bain Jr. I don't think it should be the biggest thing, but yeah, I had that as a trade up. I was also thinking about considering somebody like an Arizona Cardinals, something like that. But, we'll see what happens. Also with the Rams having pick number 13 on their board with the Falcons, I'm interested what they can do with that. What's interesting as well is usually I'm a very big draft nerd. This year's a little tougher just because my team doesn't have a first-round pick, but still trying to keep my ends and possibilities out there. But I love the draft. Actually, I would say the draft to me is probably a top 3 favorite moment in the NFL for me. I would say the draft week 1 and I would say draft week 1 are probably my top 2 favorite, actually. I would probably just throw the Super Bowl in there, but the Super Bowl to me is coming a little diluted. But yeah,
it's okay. Once your team's in it, you'll appreciate it a lot more. But
the team has been.
Once they win it. But
I was about to say, did you forget what happened with my team?
there's your joke for the day. But yeah, excellent analysis. That's definitely a scenario I could see happening. My question to you is, how much is the market for top end guys. Like, I know you said this is a very deep like edge class, but like you guys like David Bailey, guys like Ruben Bain, who are projected to be top 5, top 10 picks. What is in your opinion, sort of the trading up market look like? Or what do you, besides just the Chiefs? Because I've seen reports that say that this is going to be one of the most intense like draft day trades that we're going to see. Like, teams are going to be jumping all over the place. Obviously, for me, most of my Bleacher Report notifications are personalized for specific Philadelphia teams. So all I hear from them is Eagles are looking to trade up, blah, blah, blah. So what do you think besides just the Chiefs? You think we'll see a lot of trading around on draft day? And what is?
Yeah, I think that pick 6 to me is the one that is really being honed in on. I could see also a world. I could see a world where the Cardinals bounce off 3, as well, because the Cardinals to me are a very interesting team. I've spoken about them very, very much about this, about how they're not really good enough at all on rebuilding. And to start a rebuild, you really take a quarterback. That's really the start of your rebuild. And maybe you've seen in other sports, but you have a top 3 pick like that. Maybe you can bounce down. You can get 2 first-rounders. A good example of this, right, would be a Cleveland Browns, who traded their number 2 pick last year, who got a first-rounder, which although the Jags were good this year, it's still a first-round pick in the 20s, which then they can do something with it. And then you talk about this year, right? If they go jump down again and get more draft capital, it just builds up. And Baron, guess what? We talk about last year's draft with the Cleveland Browns. I think there's an argument they had the best draft class last year, even when trading down. There's an argument they had the best draft class. So it's not about what can happen in the first round just with that top pick. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Cardinals at 3 go down and I could see somebody like a Los Angeles Chargers go make a jump in edge rusher. Khalil Mack on a 1-year deal, but you have a Khalil Mack mentor a guy like that, and then they come plug right back in because I think this will probably be Mack's last year. You could have a world where the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones becomes impatient with his team. They really need edge help. They go out and maybe get an edge guy, go out and get the 3 or the 6 pick, and really throw their assets on the table. And Jerry Jones has said that he has looked at trading for a pick in the higher rounds. So maybe you see a team like the Dallas Cowboys jump. You talk about the Eagles. You've probably seen some reports on the Eagles, and I could see the Eagles going for an edge as well. But the Eagles to make a jump in the draft would be a little bit of a surprise to me.
It'd be very expensive.
I could see them falling down for like a Keldrick Falk, for like a Akeem Messidor, somebody around that late first round talent, because 5 or 6 edges might go in this first round, Baron. And to me, if you're the Eagles, just speaking on you get a first round edge talent because of how deep this is. That could usually be a top 15, 14, 13 kind of guy at 24. I think that's still a good pick. So I could see the Eagles making a jump, but I could probably see them sticking as well. Another team that I could see maybe get a little interesting is the Buffalo Bills, right? Because they have guys like Greg Rousseau, Bradley Chubb, but a team that is kind of snowballing off the cliff a little bit with an edge that needs to go get someone. Maybe the Buffalo Bills put that push in there. So I could see this draft where there's a big jump at edge, especially from, I would say, if they're going to move up in the deeper rounds to the mid rounds, and if you're from the mid rounds to the high rounds. So that's what I have a lot of tabs on my mock draft when I really get into it, when I have my full mock. Baron, I could see this being just like the NFL free agency as well, where we see 21 trades, I think, so far, which is the most in league history, if I'm not mistaken. At this time, we could see even more before the draft or during the draft. So
I love
this.
Yeah, I definitely expect a few more trades to be made before the draft. Obviously, the beautiful thing about the NFL draft versus the NBA draft is the draft comes after free agency versus beforehand. So yeah, you want everything in place to have the best drafts possible and then go from there. While we're on the topic of trading around, one team I'd like to give a shout to and keep an eye on for would be the Washington Commanders. They have the 7th pick right now, and I think they could find themselves in a Cleveland Browns situation where maybe they're sitting right outside of the top 5, where they don't feel like the guy they want might fall a few spots back. and they could make a trade for a future first round pick next year to get a team like, say, the Dallas Cowboys, who wants to jump up in division, make a trade like that, get a edge rusher who the Saints might not necessarily want to bite on. They wait, get their guy later, or the Commanders wait, get their guy later, and they have a draft pick for next year's first round, which supposedly is the holy draft of all drafts. But another team, I like the Dolphins. Maybe you see them make a move. It's just like you said, right? Obviously, the top 5 is very talent heavy, and then once you get to about pick 15, those are all very sort of, I'm trying to find the right word, but those are all they're great players, but you'd be comfortable getting more capital for the future and then seeing if they fall later. So to me, those spots are very interesting. And then moving on in terms of the draft, we talked about edge rushers already, right? And that being one of the strongest positions available. What other position groups? I've heard tight ends being thrown around. We have a lot of good-looking tight ends coming out of this year's draft. But what sort of position groups would you say are strong, and which ones are weak coming into this draft?
Well, I'll say weak first. And I know it's really carried by Jeremiah Love, but the running back class this year to me is interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Jeremiah Love will probably go top 10. I could see him going 5th to the Giants, as high as that. I could see him falling all the way down to that 10, 11, 12 range. But you look past that. I mean, the second guy on the board is his teammate Jadarian Price, which Price is probably I would say a second round, if not third round kind of guy. And then you go past there with Mike Washington, Nicholas Singleton. These are kind of mid-round guys, your 4 or 5 rounds. So running back to me is weak. If there's one where I'd be like, man, I cannot wait to see how this turns out, it's the receiver class. I think the receiver class to me is the one. If it's not the edge class, it's the receiver class, because you look at the offensive side, tight end is right. It's interesting with Kenyon Sadiq. You have Eli Stowers. You have Max Clare. Those 3 guys. To me, still, those are guys that are second round, third round, maybe early receiver, right? You got Mekhi Lemon, you got Jordan Tyson, Carnell Tate, you got Omar Cooper Jr., Casey Concepcion, Zachariah Branch, right? That could be a guy who sneaks into the first round from Georgia. Antonio Williams could be a guy who ends that kind of early second, mid-second round, depending on his injury history, though, which is a little bit. But to me, I would say you even have a guy like Jeremy Bernard, right? Who's could be in that early mid-second round. To me, the receiver class could be something that explodes or something that tanks. So I would look at the receiver class. Baron, look at this receiver class, because it is a lot of interesting guys on there.
I'm kind of looking at some names right now. But yeah, in terms of let's look at the defense, right? Obviously, we're talking about edge rushers being good. What about tackles? DBs, linebackers, like for teams that are looking to improve in these areas, do they need to jump ahead and go up and get these guys that are higher up on the board, or do you think they can afford to kind of wait and let some guys fall? There's some sneaky gems in these position groups. What do you think?
I think if we go position by position, first we can start with defensive tackles. Defensive tackle to me is an interesting one because you have Caleb Banks, you have Christian Miller, you have Peter Woods, you have Caden McDonald. These guys to me are all – you don't really jump up and get these guys, right? You kind of let them fall into your lap. And I think one that would be very interesting to fall into your lap, which this is not me biasly saying this, but I think, Peter Woods is the most interesting to me because that was a guy that you come into the season, he was a consensus top 5, top 7 guy, right? And maybe didn't have the best year, but you look at kind of the raw talent of Peter Woods and go, this guy can still be that talent, and you can get him at a early second rounder, maybe, if you get lucky. To me, if there's one guy that you're banking on this year on defense, and if you're going to go up and get him, and it's the weirdest one, is Caleb Downs, because Caleb Downs is a safety. Safeties to me, if you're playing defense, let's be honest, Baron, I think safety is probably the least valuable position on defense, but Caleb Downs is a kind of a unicorn of a safety. You can't just he's a guy that you probably say is a top 3 prospect, top 4, top 5 in this draft. But since he's a safety, you don't know where to take him. I see it in a couple of mocks I've read him going at 7 to the Commanders. So that could be a place he goes. But if Caleb Downs starts falling, maybe that's someone that somebody goes and takes a risk on because of how talented he is.
Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles. But
Oh, that'd be a
oh my
crazy
God,
one.
if they got him, dude, I would
Caleb
be
Downs would be great on that team.
ecstatic. I'm hoping for Thieneman personally, but yeah, no, like you said, safety's kind of. I wouldn't say it's the least valuable, but I could definitely say it's the least consistently viewed position on defense.
Yeah.
Like you will see people who will sit there and be like, yeah, you could plug in a undrafted free agent as your starting safety and get away with it. And then there's other guys that's like to me, growing up, I've always always told like safety's the last line of defense. So like you want someone good back there. Yeah, obviously thinking personally, my Eagles, that's a big position of need. So I've been keeping up with some of the safeties as well, but it definitely seems like a top-heavy group. And also in the sense, you look at guys like Kyle Williams, right, or Kyle Hamilton, and Nick Moria, however you say, the guy on the Seahawks that just won the Super Bowl. You see these big body kind of hybrid like safety linebacker players who are 6'3", 6'4", 220, all muscle, but can still run like a 4.4. That's kind of the standard. That's what teams are looking for in safeties these days. And while Caleb Downs might be a little smaller or shorter, he's still a big physical human being who can play sort of that sub linebacker spot. So I definitely see the upside in all of that. But that's definitely, at least for me, that what I've been paying attention to. Safety is one of those positions that's very top heavy. Also, from my understanding, I think just DBs as a whole, this draft class are kind of top heavy. So not a great.
To me, corner is such an interesting position, right? Because we really, I think I've been following the draft really closely for about 7 years now, and corner is such an interesting position because you know how highly valuable it is, right? I mean, you can talk about guys like Jeff Okudah, right, going number 3 overall back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken.
I mean, we had one go second overall last year, so
yeah, and you have a guy like Sauce Gardner, right, that goes number 4, and he's been, had a really good rookie year, and maybe not the best after that, but still hold down. Corner's an interesting one, because you have Delaney from LSU. Avion Terrell's kind of a late first, early second kind of guy from Clemson. Jermod McCoy, I think, is an interesting one as well. But, Jermod McCoy also tore his ACL, which is giving some teams a little bit of not an injury you like to see on a corner, but still very speedy. I guess out of the whole DBs, the one I'm most interested in is Toledo Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, right? Safety right there, who's probably going to go late first, who you look at his tape he's like Jamal Adams, I would say. Very inside the box, can make tackles, and we'll see how interesting that position is valued compared to like a coverage corner, right? I would say someone like, Caleb Downs is much better in coverage than someone like McNeil-Warren. Somebody like Thieneman too, right? A little better in coverage. So we'll see how the box safety is really valued. Because, again, I can see a team going for him. I can see all teams being like, we've seen box safeties not be most effective in the league because you then play cover 1, cover 0. So we'll see where that kind of lands you in.
Yeah. Again, 6'4", can play in the tackle. Those are, again, kind of like what I was saying. Those are the guys that it seems like, at least for one of your safety spots, I guess if you want to go traditional, free and strong, this would be the strong safety. Yeah. But he definitely fits that build. I would definitely classify him more as a safety than a cornerback. But I think I would be ecstatic if the Eagles got him as well. I think the big knock on him, from my understanding, is just, again, you play at Toledo. That's not a Power 4 school. Your stats should look good if you're being held to this high of a standard. So it's all about, does that translate? If you put him on an SEC school, would he still put up those numbers in college? When you put him in these situations in the NFL, is he still going to hold up? If he does, if a team thinks so, then he's going to get drafted pretty high, in my opinion. And I think he could sneakily be one of the better defenders coming out of this class. But yeah, definitely on defense, I'd say the strength is on the front line. And the last sort of position group topic we can get into is the offensive line, right?
Yep.
Everyone knows that smart teams take offensive line early on, even when they don't need them. They let them develop. How does this year's offensive line group look as a whole?
I think that the offensive tackle position, it's not offensive tackle doesn't have a top 5 guy maybe in terms of pure talent, but the offensive tackle position I think is one of the deeper ones in this class if you're in that 1, 2, 3 spot, because you have guys like, biasness aside, Monroe Freeling from the UGA, who is a very big body, very good at blocking. I would say that probably the best offensive tackle is Francis Mauga from Miami. Caden Proctor's in there. You have Max Iheanacho, who could even go in the first round. 2 from Utah and Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomo. I mean, you have guys all the way like I could see a guy like Blake Miller from Clemson going early second, depending how teams evaluate him. And I would say Blake Miller to me is probably 7, 8, 9 best tackle in this class. So tackle to me is very deep, very top heavy, but it's not very like I'm going to spend a top 3 pick on this or top 5 kind of pick. Offensive guards to me.
This is a big boy.
Offensive guard.
Yeah.
Olave Vega Ione from Penn State. This to me, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but to me, if Pittsburgh Steelers can land their hands on this guy, that's the best pick they can possibly have, right? It's right around that position quality. They need someone interior guard. He's probably going to go in that mid to late first round. I think he's a perfect fit for Pittsburgh. Other than that,
there's another team in that state that could use him.
A lot of people could use him, but I think that's a guy that I think everyone's gonna have to have going to Pittsburgh if he falls down into that area. I mean, I could see even him falling all the way up to maybe 14 or 15, with somebody like the Baltimore Ravens going that way, seeing how their offensive line can scramble with Linderbaum going away. Yeah. I could even see him going 15 to the Bucks because they need some help with Baker Mayfield that had a really tough year with his offensive protection. So I think the offensive line class can fluctuate anywhere in this class, this draft, which I like.
Yeah. All right. We got 2 more topics draft related. One's kind of a segment, so we'll go fast. Last group, I lied. The golden goose of any NFL draft, Brooks, is quarterbacks, right? That's the talk of the town. That's what everyone wants to know. Obviously, we have Fernando Mendoza going to the Raiders, number 1. I think if you asked anyone, that's what they would say. It would be a shock if that wasn't the case. So my big question to you is, when do we see the next one go? And who is it?
Baron. I hate that question so much because to me, I think it's going to probably be Ty Simpson. And I think Ty Simpson has all the intangibles, build-wise, knowledge-wise, of going top 1 or top in that first round. To me, he just doesn't show so much tape as why I would be convinced that this would be my franchise guy year 1. I think Ty Simpson probably goes late first round to a team that's desperate, right? To a team that wants to get that. For example, maybe an Arizona Cardinals, that number 3 pick with a trade with a team from that middle rounds, they get a first rounder plus a little more. Could almost be like how a team trades up and gets that first round pick. Maybe in the second round, they trade it back, get a first and a little bit of help. They get desperate. They go, we don't have Kyler Murray anymore. Our quarterback is Gardner Minshew. Maybe we go out and get Ty Simpson, right? I think that's a team that everyone has tabbed going, but I think Ty Simpson's probably a late first rounder. Other than that, I'm not really. If I'm a sitting on you wait until next draft class kind of guy, that you have to take a year off and you have to go get the next draft class, which of course I haven't evaluated deeply, but you talk about the names on this board. Carson Beck. There was an ESPN article, which it's not going to sway my analysis, but they said literally what the headline was, if you're looking for a talented guy, look elsewhere on Carson Beck. And that to me is kind of what everyone past those 2 guys kind of gives off. Garrett Nussmeier, is he really the game changer? Not really. Carson Beck, don't know, although a lot of years. I think Drew Aller is that has disappointed.
That's the dark
his
horse to
entire
me.
year.
I think you're
To
gonna.
me,
I think you'll. It's not gonna be in the first round, but I wouldn't be surprised if a team on day 2 thinks they have the next Josh Allen with Drew Aller and takes him off the board.
I mean, yeah, Drew Aller standing at 6'5". I mean, he's about, I think, 230 pounds. He does give off that frame.
He
but
can throw the ball deep.
he can, but
it's not accurate. So
I think what really holds him back is
he
wasn't good against good teams. He was not good.
His
right?
confidence, his processing, his decision making. None of it's NFL ready. But I'm telling you, and maybe they wait till next season. But while we're talking about quarterbacks, I would be very interested to see who the Rams take day 3, late day 2. I'd certainly I think they take a quarterback. If Drew Aller is around in the 5th round, I think they take him. You give him a year, maybe 2 years behind Matthew Stafford to sort of build up that confidence. Again, I'm not saying it's going to work. I'm just saying this is the thought processing. And yeah, I think you see a situation like that, they could take a chance with, like you said, Carson Beck, a guy who's proven that can win in these situations. Just kind of fine tune his game, clean up those interception numbers. Maybe they think they can do that. Even a guy maybe like Cade Klubnik, they see him to help him with his decision making, his confidence issues. But that's certainly, to me, a dark horse team that I think will take a quarterback in this year's draft, because you got to start thinking post Matthew Stafford.
You do, and to me, the most interesting quarterback in this draft class is Taylor Green. Taylor Green from Arkansas is the most interesting, because you look at his combine, you go, holy smokes, this guy plays quarterback. And then you look at his numbers playing quarterback, you go, holy smokes, this guy plays quarterback, because it's two opposite things. His combine, you're like a 6'4" dude that can run like a 4.5, can be electric down the field. And then you look at his numbers, you go, he threw more interceptions than touchdowns in college, right? What is an NFL defense going to do to this guy? It's going to eat him alive. Mm-hmm. So to me, he's 6'6", right? His issue is he takes too long in the pocket. He takes too long deciding what to do. When he decides what to do, it sometimes doesn't go very well with those interceptions. And so it's just very interesting. And maybe a team takes a flyer on him, because he kind of gives off like Justin Fields in a way, but a lot more to him athletically. Just needs to polish the throwing, because Justin Fields had good throwing when he was in college. To me, I think somebody like a Cade Klubnik, for example, we talk about Clemson a lot. Cade Klubnik, to me, is a guy you take a shot on as a 6th or 7th rounder. I mean, you do one of those. I could see somebody like Sawyer Robertson go to the Rams in the 7th round, because he has the frame like a Stafford at a 6'4", 220. A guy from Baylor who can really sling it. Just needs to work on a lot, so maybe Stafford can help him with that. Klubnik, to me, could be one. But Drew Aller, I'm going to make a comparison here to another quarterback. Joey Aguilar, if you know who Joey Aguilar is, Barron, Tennessee quarterback. Mm-hmm. Joey Aguilar, I'm actually going to throw you back for a second. Do you remember when Georgia played Clemson in 2024 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium?
How could I ever fucking forget?
Exactly. The next game, Barron, do you remember who Clemson played?
No.
They scored 28 points in the first quarter. They played App State. They played App State at home. It was a night game. Cade Klubnik threw 7 touchdowns, had a school record, I think, of 500-something passing yards. They actually faced Tennessee quarterback Joey Aguilar at App State. And I was sitting next to the Jacksonville Jaguar scout. I'm not going to name drop. I just name dropped the team, goddamn, but whatever. And he came to see Joey Aguilar. And after the first quarter, 28-0, he packed his stuff and he left. And he said, that's the only time we'll probably see Joey Aguilar play an NFL defense. And he left in the first quarter because he played that poorly. That, to me, is Drew Aller, because he played against AP top 10s. He was 1-9. And that AP top 10 was Boise State. So, to me, I don't like Drew Aller because of the big games. And the big games is every game in the NFL.
And again, I'm not saying that Drew Aller is all this and all that. But you do have to remember who he was coached by for those 10 games and his track record as well. So I'm not saying that that's the excuse or that's the reason, but you just got to keep that in mind. But that's about all we've got in terms of draft coverage. There's a lot to be seen. What comes out of the draft, we will know a lot more about where we're going to be going into next season after the draft, including probably the biggest storyline in the NFL right now, which is, will A.J. Brown be a Philadelphia Eagle next season? And whether that's the roports that he's going to get traded have some legitimacy or to them or not. We've all seen the scandal at this point. Diana Rossini, how ethical of a reporter are you? We'll never know. What is it? The big scoop, right? Inside scoop, Brooks? That's right. Inside scoop right there. But, yeah, will A.J. Brown be an Eagle next season? I'm starting to think probably not. Obviously, I don't know if you saw it. That probably happened an hour before we started recording, but Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni had another press conference. Howie Roseman reiterated the same thing. A.J. Brown's an Eagle. Didn't give a time frame, Bennett. Just simple statement. A.J. Brown is an Eagle. Reports keep coming out. So what are your thoughts behind it, Brooks?
Baron, here are my thoughts. That the Eagles signed got three wide receivers, are stacked the wide receiver position. I think he's gone. Personally, I think he's gone one way or another. And again, I'm circling Thursday, April 29th. I'm circling April 28th. I'm circling April 27th. I'm circling the build-up to the NFL draft because you look at, like I said earlier, this wide receiver class has names in it that you can go get. A.J. Brown maybe gets you a pick that you go get a young wide receiver, right?
Hold on.
Now,
pen in that. He will not get traded before the draft. I'm just going to go ahead and make that clear. That if he does get traded, and that has come out and been said, it would be after the June 1st designation. So if he gets traded, it will not be before this year's draft.
Perfect. Then I'm going to make a point about that even more. If the Eagles select a damn wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, that is a pure tell sign that he is gone. One way or another, whether you like the value or not, he's gone. I think since the draft is off the table, since the draft is off the table, it'll be interesting what the return is for A.J. Brown because I think the Eagles are in such a win-now mode that you get rid of a player who is a win-now player. You got to get something back that's going to get you still in win-now territory. So it'll be interesting, especially with his contract, all that happening, but I have a feeling he's gone. I just don't know what team takes a flyer on him.
There's only one. At this point. Unless the Chargers want to get serious again, there's only one team that's ever been entertaining the asking price, and that's been the New England Patriots. Obviously, they're a team who views themselves as a Super Bowl contender next season, and whether that's true or not, they're willing to part ways with a first-round pick because despite the age, despite the production last season or the last couple of seasons, A.J. Brown, at his best, talent-wise, is still a top 5 receiver in the NFL. And when you look at what Jalen Waddle was traded for, you can't start a trade talk about that with anything less than a first-round pick and probably a day 2 pick as well. To me personally, I think it has to start with a first and second rounder next year. Since Jalen Waddle went for a first and third, obviously I'm not the guy in those buildings. I don't know the true value and all that, but that's where I think it needs to start. And you're talking about for a team that's in a win now mode, right? With the Eagles and obviously trading for Dontavius Wicks, signing Hollywood Brown, signing Elijah Moore. To be fair, the Eagles had 2 receivers on the roster going into free agency. Obviously, those being A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Now they have 5, which is, I think, the minimum you need for an NFL roster. So they don't technically need to get rid of him right now. And yes, I do think if you see the Eagles take a receiver in the first round, that's going to, or early on, I think that says a lot. I don't necessarily know if that's a done deal. I think they're interested in some of these slot receivers, some of these day 2 sort of guys like Antonio Williams, Zachariah Branch if he falls. What's a bigger tell for me is if the Patriots go out and get a receiver or if they try and trade up for a big name. Because if they don't, then that almost looks to me seems like then they know someone's coming in later down the line. And again, I think at this point in time, A.J. Brown is one of my favorite players of all time. I'm not going to sit here and not say that or bash him, but I would probably be okay with it. I'm of the impression that the Patriots will not make the playoffs next year. I know that's kind of bold, but obviously you saw what happened to them this year in the Super Bowl after having the 7th easiest schedule in Super Bowl history. Obviously, they will have one of the hardest schedules going in the next season. And while A.J. Brown does make their team better, I don't think that puts them over the hump that would be the Bills. They might sneak in a wild card spot, but when you look at the rest of the AFC, how are the Chargers, how are the Chiefs, how are the Broncos going to look? That's 3 teams where 2 of them might be in the wild card. How is the AFC South going to look? Are the Jaguars going to be competitive with the Texans? Are the Steelers, are the Bengals going to be competitive with the Ravens? Are the Ravens even going to be competitive? So there's just a lot of question marks in the air, and I don't love the overall team that the Patriots have. So I would be okay with it if we got their first-round pick next year. I think that'll be a low 20, high teens sort of pick. So, yeah, but it has to be the right conditions, I think. But, yeah, it's certainly going to be a lot more revealed from the draft.
Yeah, I was reading my notes on the Patriots, what I have for them, and what I had circled is wide receiver. And I think they will go wide receiver just because the release of Stephon Diggs really does leave a hole there. And adding somebody like what's his name, Romeo Dobbs, the pickup is good, but that's not a game changer. And you do need some more, not even just a game changer wide receiver, which helps, but you need more depth at wide receiver out of New England for Drake May. So I have wide receiver circled. I had Omar Cooper circled. I had Denzel Boston if he fell because of his size, 6'4", 215 going. I have him circled. So guys like that I have circled, and I think they probably will go receiver at the end of the first round. So that's my guess. And that's why I think A.J. Brown being moved pre-draft is much easier to do than post-draft.
Well,
so
cap space wise, it's not, but
it's not. But post-draft, June 1st designations, all that kind of stuff, it'll be easier for teams to grab a hold of him because of money, but it'll be, I think, harder for some teams because they'll already have kind of solidified that roster. But the teams that haven't will then really make a move for A.J. Brown. So,
and I think the other good thing is, for the Eagles at least, if you're an Eagles fan listening, trading him for a pick next year, you might be like, well, what the fuck? Why, if we're going to trade him, like you said, we would want to trade him now and get return capital so we can win immediately. Again, I think the Patriots pick next year is going to be much more valuable than their pick this year. Granted, just because next year's draft class is supposedly going to be a lot better. But also, like I said, I think that pick will be a lot higher up. And yeah, but I think that'll ultimately be the biggest tell is if, because to me, when you're the Patriots and you have this roster, which you think is Super Bowl ready, you're trying to max that out. Again, I still think they have some moves before they're really contenders, but yeah, you just need to, I think if they go up and trade for a receiver, that's almost a guarantee that they're not making a move for A.J. Brown, obviously, because they would have to give up some capital probably to get up to wherever they want to go. So yeah, I think this year's draft will be a very big indicator of how this saga will end, and I guess we will just talk about it more post draft, post trade, whenever it happens. But yeah, the big thing to take away from this is Diana Russini cannot be trusted, and oof, oh boy, feel prayers up for her husband if you've seen the clips.
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's normal to hang out like that, Baron. Don't worry,
it's just normal. Now, one more topic on football: Kyler Murray had his 5th-year option picked up. Or no, not Kyler Murray. Who is it?
Stroud.
C.J. Stroud. Sorry, I know. Ass and ass, right? 2 cheeks on one butt. But yeah. How do we feel about that? Kind of time to prove it, right?
Look, I know people are gonna make their comments about C.J. Stroud, but I think it's kind of the right move because of where the Texans are. You just gotta trust your guy to get it done. And that's why, again, read my notes on the Texans, circled offensive line, because the offensive line really has not been helpful to C.J. Stroud. And so I think they need to go out there and get an offensive line in the draft, which will help them a little bit and protect them, right? Mm-hmm. Now, the obvious pick, the other side of that obvious pickup in that same draft class was Will Anderson, who deserves to get picked up and then got an extension on top of it. So good for him. But C.J. Stroud, this isn't make or break you for him, especially if is a big if, and it probably won't happen. But if that offensive line does produce a top half blocking, just top half blocking, then in pass protection, then we got to see what's up. So
Fair enough.
yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for football. You know what time of the year it is, though, Brooks? It's
Playoff time and
play-in time. Yay! Everyone's favorite postseason
Silver.
conglomerate. The Hawks. Big round of applause to them. They're not participating in this year's play-in tournament for the better. They have secured a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference and will not be playing.
You just say 60 at that point.
Whatever. They've secured a top 6 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they have a guaranteed playoff spot this year.
We face the Knickies, the New York Knicks.
For better or worse. However, first time for the Sixers, they are in the play-in tournament. They are the 7th seed as of right now. They will host the Orlando Magic tomorrow night in Philadelphia for a chance to move on. And then on the Western Conference, sorry, I should have been a little more prepared for this.
Suns and Blazers.
There you go. Suns and Blazers are that's the 7th and 8th, yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's tonight. Oh, shit,
Yep.
I didn't even realize. Yeah, so they are playing for a chance to play against the Spurs. See, Brooks is on top of this.
Come on, baby.
Come
on, baby.
If they lose, then they get to play the winner of the Clippers and the Warriors. And then in the Eastern Conference 9-10, we have the Charlotte Hornets hosting your play-in invitational yearly participants, Miami Heat at the 10 seed. And then the winner of that game gets to play the loser, or will play the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday. So, what are your play-in predictions, Brooks?
You just count your team automatically to lose on Wednesday?
We're going to lose. I mean, I don't know if you've seen
my play-in predictions.
Yeah, what are your play-in predictions?
I got Hornets over Heat.
Yep.
Okay. I do have Suns over Blazers.
Yep. Okay, I agree with you there.
Magic over Sixers.
Okay, we disagree. Oh wait, no, we agree there. That's right.
We agree.
Yeah.
I have Clippers over Warriors.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there too.
Okay. And then for Clips versus Blazers, I have the Clips.
I can see that. Yeah.
Loser of 7-8 versus 9-10, I have Clips.
Yeah.
And then Sixers versus Hornets. I low-key have the Sixers.
Hornets win. And they will be playing the Pistons, which I think will be a very good series, round 1, to be honest. But if the Hornets play at their best. But the Sixers aren't winning anything. Say what you want, worst superstar ever. Joel Embiid is the most unlucky NBA player of all time, and you can't even argue that.
First round series that are actually up right now. Hawks versus Knicks. Who wins that series?
Knicks in 5.
I will say Knicks in 6 probably.
All right.
I'm telling everyone in my class that the Hawks are going to win. I have no belief that the Hawks are going to win. Like, I have started at least 5 arguments with people just saying the Hawks are going to win. They're not going to win. If we win, the Knicks are poverty.
You're just setting yourself up to get clowned.
Yeah, but like I'm gonna defend my team. Like I'm gonna defend them. You know,
don't engage. Don't engage.
It's rage bait. You know, it works.
No, it is working.
Raptors and Cavs.
Yeah.
Give me the Cavs.
Okay, I wouldn't be. Yeah. Raptors might sneak around on there.
Who do you have though?
I have the Cavs. I forget James Harden's on there.
I got the Cavs.
That's actually crazy.
Timberwolves and Nuggets.
I look. He thought he was still on the Clippers.
No. See, this is Timberwolves and Nuggets.
Timberwolves. See, this is why I can't. This is why we had to switch from football and basketball. I don't even know who's on what team anymore. I've so mentally just checked out of the NBA this year. I came back just for my goat to have appendicitis, so I've checked out again. I don't really know what's going on. But,
I will say I think out of the 4 major sports, as much as it pains me to say, but I think the NBA is the biggest joke out of the four.
Pains? It's the easiest. That's the easiest thing I've ever heard in my life. The NBA fucking sucks. Adam Silver, yeah, we need a public execution live for everyone to see. Tell them the bullshit you were telling me this today before we started about the lottery odds. About the lottery odds.
Yeah. There was a rule proposed that to stop tanking that 1 to 3, the top 3 picks have less odds of getting the number 1 pick compared to teams 4 through 10.
Yeah. Kill this guy immediately. For the betterment of the world. We need to come together as a collective society. All countries in the world need to unite under one campaign, and that is to fire Adam Silver. So, Adam Silver is the reason the WNBA sucks. All right, that's enough basketball. Anything more football related you have?
I will complete my mock draft.
Oh, no rush.
For next episode, and we can go through that. We can go through my mock draft.
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Well,
because I think by the time we have the next episode, it'll be a week before the draft, and I think that's a good time to have it done.
Yeah, that's perfect. All right, you got it. That works for me.
All right, that'll be the episode. Nothing agreed. Thank y'all so much for listening. What does y'all's mock draft look like? Any surprises, shakeups? Let us know. Other than that, thank you so much for listening. Don't pull a Mike Vrabel, and peace.